say they play the Milwaukee Bucks could sweep this team easily. But Yo, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of NBA Now. It's your boy Dom, and we're gonna get right into things here today. So today, we are talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers. This team has started out the season interestingly. Now they ended up losing their first game against Toronto, but something that major that happened in that game was Darius Garland actually got injured. He continued not to play in tonight's game versus the Chicago Bulls, in which, you know, the Cavs have pretty handedly handled the Bulls so far in this game. I'm kind of recording this at the start of the third quarter, so it looks like the Cavs will probably pull out a win here. I'd be a little bit shocked if they didn't, although they are letting the Bulls go on a little bit of a run right now. Regardless, though, what we saw happen when Darius Garland went out against the Toronto Raptors in the first game was Donovan Mitchell took over, right? There was questions prior to like preseason and stuff like that. How would like who's going to have the ball, Mitchell or Darius Garland? And in preseason, they fit seamlessly, right? Pretty much. In fact, I think there was one report in which they actually got told by their coach, like, stop throwing the ball around, go score. You know what I mean? Like, you guys know how to score, right? And I think when you look at Donovan Mitchell, when he came into this team, he didn't come into this team like, hey, I'm a guy that's been trying to compete for a championship pretty much since I walked in the league. I'm a guy that's been the guy for my team pretty much since I walked in the league. But he came to this team and he kind of embraced everybody there, right? I think he is excited to play with a lot of the guys he's playing with. He's played with Darius Garland and scrimmages and stuff throughout the offseason, not even expecting that he was going to be playing with him come the regular season. So I think this team has a lot of potential, especially once Darius Garland gets back from his little injury that he had. Got like poked in the eye or something like that, so makes sense kind of how to shoot the basketball if your eye gets swollen or whatever ended up happening with that exactly. But Donovan Mitchell in that first game, he took over. He was scoring, he was playmaking. I think a lot of the things that I saw that were super impressive are some of the stuff that like he did in Utah. You know, that little shovel pass to the big in Utah. He did a lot to Rudy Gobert. I know Rudy Gobert didn't score a lot of points, but a lot of Rudy Gobert's points come off that little shovel pass that Donovan Mitchell used to do in Utah. Well, guess what? He's got two bigs he can do that with. He can do it with Jared Allen. He can do it with Evan Mobley. I mean, you can keep going that further. He can do it with Kevin Love. This was a team that I was so excited for before the season prior to the Donovan Mitchell trade. And that Donovan Mitchell trade only made this team that much better, right? This team is easily one of the best teams in the league, easily one of the best young teams in the league. And like, if this team makes the conference finals, would I be shocked? No. If this team is a 7 seed and, you know, is fighting in the play-in and makes the playoffs barely, no, I wouldn't be shocked. You know, they were projected last year prior to some injuries and stuff coming out of the All-Star break to, you know, they were set to make the playoffs if they kept their win projections. Now, a lot of injuries and stuff happen. They end up falling out, losing the play-in and stuff like that. They don't make the playoffs. But this was a very good team last year. And they added one of the best scorers in basketball. I know I'm a little bit biased, I should mention, about Donovan Mitchell being one of my favorite players in the league. And so him going to this team, I think it's only so much better. I mean, you've got so much offense between him and Garland alone. Your defense between Mobley and Allen was already so good last year. Mobley's potential on both sides of the court is like sky's the limit. You know what I mean? Like, if this guy continues to work on his offensive game, I know Donovan Mitchell actually went on the JJ Redick podcast here recently, and he was talking about how, you know, if Evan Mobley's settling, this is a 6'11", 7-foot guy settling for a turnaround jumper. He compared it to KD, which, you know, kind of makes sense. He's trying to get that tall guy, spin around on a smaller guy. Like, that's him settling, right? And that if he gets that down, that's one of the most unguardable shots in the league, right? We know what Kevin Durant can do with that. He's made a career and become one of the best players all time off of that type of shot, right? Now, I don't think Evan Mobley ever gets to that area in that, but, you know, Donovan Mitchell talking about him working on his three and stuff like that and having the drive to continue to want to get better, right? We see a lot of young players coming into this league and they don't quite have that drive. But I think a lot of the guys on this team are very similar in the fact that they all kind of have that, right? This team really kind of fits together. I think Kevin Love, sitting through those terrible few years that they've had, is kind of going to come worth it for him now, right? He's still getting money. He's going to be playing winning basketball. He's going to be a very important veteran for them. And then you look at a guy like Caris LeVert, a guy who we thought potentially could start setting this team over the top in the playoff berths and stuff like that before the season, before the Donovan Mitchell trade and stuff like that. And yeah, he hasn't quite exactly been what you wanted him to be so far with Cleveland, but he's a guy that he's kind of an X factor, right? Him and Kevin Love, they've had very good, points in this league, not only just of recently, right? I mean, you just look, you can look farther back, but Caris LeVert, he's shown a lot of potential in this league, is a proven scorer. Kevin Love, proven scorer. And so Caris LeVert being able to step in and kind of fill in for Darius Garland while Garland was out, and Mitchell being able to handle the point guard role perfectly pretty much so far in these games has been very, very interesting, because it's like, okay, now I can't wait to see this team go against some true contenders with both their guards in play, right? Obviously, the Raptors were a playoff team last year. They ended up losing that game, but it was a close game, and I think the fact that Garland went out that messed up the mojo a little bit, and I could have definitely seen the Cavs winning that game. It's not like they got blown out or anything like that, especially with one of their best players going out. And then in this Bulls game, they have been dominating the Bulls from pretty much tip-off until what I think will be the end of the game. I mean, right now, while I'm recording, the score is 93-79 headed into the fourth, and it's like just been a pure domination of a team that was also a playoff team last year. So these are two playoff teams, and I'm not saying they're the highest caliber, right? Everybody understands kind of where the Bulls and the Raptors fit when you're looking at playoff teams. But it's clear that the Cavs are at least at that level, if not higher, especially when you're kind of considering the fact that Garland's been out. Now, Donovan Mitchell, I can't talk enough about what he's done so far. So in that first game, he had, I believe, what was it, like 31 points? 31 points, 9 assists, a couple rebounds, and just kind of elevated all the guys around him. And so I expect that to continue throughout the season. He should be their leading scorer all year long. But if you're getting that type of playmaking out of him and Garland, we already know what Garland can do in the pick and roll. I mean, he operates it probably only second to CP3 in the league when we're talking about effectiveness and using your bigs in like the perfect way, getting the pass to where they need it, rather than maybe where it's easiest for you to pass to, right? So I think Garland's pick and roll last year was proven to be one of the best pick and rolls in the league, up there with like that of CP3, Luka, maybe not second, but in that upper echelon of like, this is a lethal pick and roll guy. And that's the most common used play in all of basketball, right? Especially at the highest level. The pick and roll it's one of the most effective plays for a reason, and when you can even run it more effective than the average person, right, you're only that much better because it's going to be used that frequently. And nobody's ever found a way to neutralize the pick and roll entirely, because if you have shooters on the court, kick it to the shooters, right? There's so much that can be done off the pick and roll, and it just being the most basic play in all of basketball. And this team is perfectly set up to optimize that, right? Now, I'm really interested to see how this team matches up in the playoffs, because like, easily, say they play the Milwaukee Bucks could sweep this team easily. But this team is probably one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference to match the Milwaukee Bucks. Even with that lack of experience amongst a lot of their youthful guys, I don't think Giannis is going to see a front court like the Cleveland Cavaliers have in all of the playoffs unless he plays the Cavs, right? I don't think Philly has the same type of front court, even with Joel Embiid. Like, he can go at Tobias Harris. And when you look at other top contenders, you look at like maybe Brooklyn. If Brooklyn gets it together and doesn't have their shenanigans, well, yes, Kevin Durant's a good defender, but he's not stopping Giannis. He's not a good defender in that sense. Or whoever they're playing at center isn't stopping him. Now, Ben Simmons is probably the best matchup there, but there's still guys for him to go at on that team, and we know Brooklyn struggles defensively. You look at the Atlanta Hawks, definitely somebody, a team that you potentially could see in the playoffs, especially with them going out and getting DeJounte Murray and stuff like that. Well, that didn't necessarily solve a stopping Giannis problem that they could have. Even the Miami Heat, one of the teams that we've looked at over the past few years as being one of the better equipped teams to play against the Milwaukee Bucks, who personally I think are at least going to the finals this year, if not winning it. Hence, the emphasis on trying to stop the Milwaukee Bucks. But when you look at the Miami Heat, a team that has Bam Adebayo and is a very gritty team, they've been shown to be one of the better teams to play against the Milwaukee Bucks. But the Heat are kind of in a similar situation where they can just as easily be swept by the Milwaukee Bucks as they could beat them in 6 or 7 games, right? And so I think that's a fantastic position for Cleveland to be in, especially when you look at the Heat last year. They were the number 1 seed, and they were one shot away from going into the NBA Finals instead of Boston, right? I think Boston speaks for itself. It's a very good defensive team, but there is avenues for Giannis to attack. Makes total sense, right? But yeah, I mean, this Cleveland Cavaliers team, I think it's in that upper echelon. I would probably, just because I think Brooklyn's going to be so dysfunctional this year as they've already kind of started off, and they've been over the past few years, I don't expect that to have a major change this year. So would I say that I would say the Cavaliers are probably going to have a better season when we look back on it than the Brooklyn Nets. Not only are their expectations a little lower, right? They probably have a longer timeline, but also they've shown the ability that they aren't going to have all this off-court shenanigans, weird workings together, weird chemistry things going on, extremely bad defense or extremely bad offense. Like, they're going to have it together. They're a pretty deep team, especially, I mean, like I said, Karis LeVert, Kevin Love, you've got Cedi Osman, you brought in Raul Neto, you've got Robin Lopez. I mean, this is not, like, I'm not listing top-tier guys, but when you have potential to, like, if a Kevin Love won 6th Man of the Year, nobody would probably be shocked if he's going off the bench, right? If Karis LeVert won 6th Man of the Year, nobody would probably be shocked because of that starting unit he's playing behind and can come in and just kind of torch defenses, especially with what he's done in the past, right? So if you have 2 6th Man of the Year caliber players and a pretty solid starting 5, I know Isaac Okoro has his questions, but at least, physically and defensively, he's there. Now that offensive side, it's a bit of a question there still, but if you have like such a solid starting 5 and decent bench pieces like they do, when it comes down to playoffs, you're only going to be playing like 7 of these guys. We've got a really solid 7, and that 7 off the bench, the 2 guys off the bench, doesn't include 2 guards or 2 bigs. Like, it plays to your strengths and weaknesses, right? Kevin Love, whatever big you need to sub in for, Kevin Love can come in for. If you need a wing or a guard to sub it out, well, you got Karis LeVert. Like, their numbers play to be better in the playoffs, and I think they're going to be a fantastic regular season team with the youth that they have. So the Cleveland Cavaliers excite me more than almost any team in basketball this season. Now, I'd have to put the Nuggets above that biasly, but the Cleveland Cavaliers, the sky really is the limit for them. Like I said, I think they have the best chance to beat the team that I think has the best chance to come out of their conference, which, I mean, that's saying something. That puts you right at the top of being able to come out of your conference. But if you look at them matching up against other teams, not just the Milwaukee Bucks, you look at the Boston Celtics team that went to the NBA Finals last year. I like their chances against the Celtics in a series. They've got the guard play. They've got the defense. Again, I think just that offense and defensive mixture that they have is going to work so well against those teams that, like, if you can match up well against Giannis and the Milwaukee Bucks, you can probably match up well against anybody. Again, I like him against the Houston Rockets. I know Donovan Mitchell's had a bad few years defensively, but against some of these topper level guards, like, he came in the league as a pretty solid defender. And especially despite his height, when you look at his wingspan and stuff like that, it's helped him make up for that substantially throughout his career. Now, the last couple of years, again, he kind of talked about this on that JJ Redick podcast, was where that's kind of gone away a little bit because there's been more emphasis on, just flush him to Gobert, get to the next guy or whatever. And so that kind of takes away from what he was doing defensively. He's not putting the effort. But guess what? Coming into this team, they're playing so much switching and stuff like that's going to be more and more emphasized. Now, again, I think this team, there's a really high ceiling for this team, and they're super, super exciting. But I couldn't throw a dart at a board and get it right with this team. Whether it was a bullseye or it was off the board, this team could be anywhere due to all those factors that make them so good and so bad, right? If all those factors don't click, well, then they're a bad team. But what I think we've seen so far is this team, it's going to click, it's going to work, and I'm excited to see Cleveland back in the playoffs without LeBron this time. First time in my life they would make the playoffs without LeBron. So something kind of interesting to think about. But if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure you guys drop a like, subscribe for more. Let me know what you guys think this team can do. And if you guys haven't seen my video talking about this team prior to the Donovan Mitchell trade, make sure you guys go check that out. I kind of go more in deep about a lot of their depth pieces and kind of some other stuff there. But yeah, appreciate you guys watching. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and I'll catch you all next time. Peace out, guys.